8 p.m., the regular session of the Planning Commission of the City of Lancaster will come to order. Tonight, the invocation is offered by Commissioner Burden. The pledge will be led by Commissioner Tufts. If you all please stand.
Standing, face the flag, place your hand over your heart, and repeat the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have the roll call, please?
Chairman Bose.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Derryberry.
Here.
Commissioner Burden.
Present.
Commissioner Loa. Present. Commissioner Moore.
Present.
Commissioner Tufts.
Present.
And Commissioner Underwood is absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. And it is my pleasure tonight to introduce to you our newly appointed Vice Chair, Mr. Stephen Derryberry, who has been a commissioner for quite a while. And our newest commissioner, Commissioner Loa. Yay. Welcome. It is our custom, Commissioner Loa, and I didn't warn you about this, so that you take about 20 minutes and explain your background, history, you know, your likes, dislikes, those kinds of things. But since I didn't pre-warn you, we'll wait till next week, okay? Public business from the floor. Any person who has an issue that they wish to address the Planning Commission about on any agendized item is asked to complete a speaker's card for the recording secretary and deposit it up here in the box on your right, my left. When that item is called, after the staff report and the applicant, if they choose to give a presentation, makes their presentation, then we will call on individuals who have asked to speak to us regarding the matter. You're limited to 3 minutes each. For the record tonight, we received some additional correspondence beyond what we received via email. On item number 2, we received a copy of a site plan and a floor plan and an uncontested letter on application identified as number 2. On item number 3, we received a number of changes to the conditions of approval, draft conditions of approval that the staff members will discuss for us. Actually, adding item 37, 57, or excuse me, amending 57, adding 85, 86, 87, and 88 to the mitigation and the mitigation monitoring plan, plus all the correspondence from California Department of Fish and Wildlife and various other state agencies and local agencies. On item number 4, we received some correspondence from the California Department of Transportation, and we did receive some emails and other correspondence from individuals, which when we get to that item, I'll name. They may be here tonight to share with us, I'm not sure. At any rate, our first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the meeting of February 26, 2024. May I have a motion, please?
I'll put forward the motion to approve minutes for a regular meeting of February 26, 2024.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 6-0 with one absent. On the agenda tonight, there are three new public hearings which are action items. I'm going to take the liberty of moving item number 4 up on the agenda in place of item 3 and move item 3 last on the agenda. So our first new public hearing is on conditional use permit number 22-016. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this item. The presenter tonight, Ms. Brake.
Thank you, Chairman Vos. Members of the Planning Commission, the first item before you tonight is conditional use permit number 22016. This is a proposal for the construction of a new industrial building and operation of a cannabis cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, and retail sales facility. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of Market Street and Enterprise Parkway in the light industrial zone. The property is currently vacant and is surrounded by existing industrial development to the west and north. This application does not include a waiver for distance to sensitive uses. There are no sensitive uses within 600 feet of the project site as shown on the left. Additionally, as required by the municipal code, there are no other retail cannabis locations within 1,000 feet of this property as shown on the right. This site plan shows the overall proposed development, which includes a 10,852 square foot industrial building. Non-retail components of the project would be gated for security. This site plan shows the overall proposed development. The floor plan shows the portions of the site which would be generally dedicated to cultivation in green, manufacturing in red, and retail and distribution in blue. The blue star on the bottom left that's labeled entrance lobby shows the location of the secured lobby where visitors would be required to sign in, provide a valid form of government ID, and receive a visitor badge prior to entering the sales floor. The cultivation and manufacturing components would operate 24 hours a day and 7 days a week to optimize electrical use and maintain security on site. Retail operations would be open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday and closed on Sunday. As stated previously, there is no distance waiver requested as part of this proposal. Odor management would be achieved through the use of industry standard carbon filters and the enforcement of on-site protocol regarding odor detection. The project is conditioned such that the detection of odor could result in revocation of the CUP. Cannabis projects undergo a detailed staff review prior to public hearing, and a security and operations plan have been prepared for the site and cleared by the city's security consultant. Security provisions on site would include a minimum of 1 security guard at all times, age verification prior to accessing the sales floor, a maximum ratio of 3 customers to every 1 associate on the sales floor, and indoor and outdoor security cameras, along with secured alarms with limited access. In conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution Number 2407, approving conditional use permit number 22016 to allow for cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, and retail sales of cannabis within a proposed industrial building, and authorizing staff to execute and file a notice of exemption. Myself and the applicant are available tonight if you have any questions.
May well be a few. Thank you. Members, any questions? None? All right. The applicant is here?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, sir, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kenneth Versosa. I am the project manager for Legacy Support. We are here for our approval for our CUP case, and have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Well, first of all, a simple question. You've heard the staff report. You've read the conditions of approval. Do you agree with all of them?
Yes, we do.
For the record?
Yes.
Okay. So the one of the conditions that some of us have had some concerns with on cannabis cultivation principally not retail operation, is the emitting of odors into the atmosphere impacting neighborhoods, neighbors, and other operations. So you are clear that if that does in fact happen, you'll be back up here before the Planning Commission on a revocation hearing, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, it's real clear. So no odors. What kind of a system are you putting in?
Between our air scrubbers, we are filtration. Yeah. Yeah. So we're putting in triple filtration systems in the grow rooms, which is where most of your odors will come from. So everything will be scrubbed before it's released into the air.
The products you sell in the retail section, are they primarily prepackaged products?
Yes.
All right. And you don't feel uncomfortable at all in a retail setting and an off the beaten path industrial location in our community?
Seen in that area being not a heavily traffic area, we did see where the city has the other retail development on a major thoroughfare. But I think we can control our site a whole lot better with that area, and we are providing additional security fencing and a larger controlled access, in which I believe our ratio is one guest or one buyer with one employee. So we won't have more than 2 people in that store at any time.
I see. Good plan.
Yes.
Notice you have video security as well. How off-site video retrieval, how long is that going to be available to our police department, or the sheriff's department for that matter?
On-site, we have 2. We have an on-site storage hard drive, and then we're going to have a cloud storage. So at the most, we would be able to hold 30 days, and then it will just repeat itself.
Okay. Very good. As most people don't know, that the Plan Commission does not pick the locations, the applicants do. This particular location is zoned properly, it meets all the standards, and the applicant complies with all the requirements of the ordinance. So we have very little leeway other than to condition a project as tightly as we can to make sure that the community is safe, but the business is successful.
Mr. Verzosa, your operator, is this their first facility, or do they operate facilities similar to this in other locations?
Back in 2020, I came before the Planning Commission. Mr. Vos was still here. We, as the company, we also own a parcel in that same subdivision on Forbes for a 22,000 square foot grow. Our plan is to start this smaller building first before we would build the next one. But that would be the extent for legacy support, is those 2 buildings in that subdivision.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So do we have speakers on this item?
No speaker cards.
None? All right. No further? Staff, nothing more? So without objection, we'll close the public hearing and consider a motion.
I'll move that we adopt resolution number 2407, approving conditional use permit number 22-016 to allow for cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, and retail sales of cannabis within a proposed industrial building at the southeast corner of Market Street and Enterprise Parkway, APN 3128-008-017 in the light industrial zone, and authorizing staff to execute and file a notice of exemption.
I second.
Thank you. Nothing further. It's been moved and seconded. Let's vote, please. Motion passes 6-0 with one absent. So the project's approved. Good luck. All right, we're taking up item 4 next. So without objection, we'll open the public hearing on tentative tract map number 23-001, TTM 83573. Ms. Edwin is presenting on this.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Bose and members of the Planning Commission. The next item I have before you is TTM 23-001 for tentative tract map 83573. The proposed tract map is located on approximately 18.5 acres of vacant land north of Avenue K and located between 42nd Street West and 40th Street West, and is zoned single-family residential in the R7000 zone. The proposed map includes 67 single-family lots and 1 common area lot. The common area lot is proposed to include community amenities such as a gym, pool, spa, outdoor park area, and dog run. Here's a site plan of the proposed map. Access will be provided via 42nd Street West. The common area lot is, is there a pointer on here? It's located in the middle. Oh, there it is, right here. The lot sizes will range from 7,000 square feet to 12,000 square feet. And the common area lot is approximately 14,000 square feet. All streets within the subdivision will be private. With that, staff recommends adoption of Resolution 24-09, approving tentative map number 23-001 to subdivide 18.5 acres of vacant land into 68 single-family lots in the R7000 zone. That concludes my presentation. Myself and the applicant are here for any questions.
Thank you. We did receive correspondence from AQMD, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and an uncontested letter from the applicant, which indicates the applicant accepts all the proposed conditions. We also received a copy of an email from a Miss Dow, I believe. Any other correspondence on this? No. All right. We have speakers on this?
We do. We have 3 speakers.
Okay, very good. All right then. Any questions from anyone? All right. Call the first speaker, please.
Sure. Ralph Ariano.
Good evening and welcome.
How you doing? Main question for me was, because I live in the tract next to where the proposed, or where the housing track's gonna go. On 42nd, the infrastructure as far as the street light, now we've got, you're probably aware, we have the Velo Valley behind us or next to us. And with the accumulation of the amount of people there and the traffic, as well as the school adjacent on 45th, the traffic there, and with no street light coming out on 42nd to K, that it's going to create a nightmare unless something's done. Now, I don't know if that's all in part of the order of what's going to be completed, if they're going to put a street light, widen the street. I don't know if you guys have driven down K at any time in the morning or afternoon. It's like a nightmare to try to come out on 42nd onto K, going north, east, or whatever you want to go. So
20 minutes twice a day around schools, right? You say a street light, you're talking about traffic, controlled intersection?
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear. All
Yeah.
right, thank you. Anything further?
Concerned about, they show an area on 40th and K that's left open. What's that supposed to be?
Staff will respond to that when everybody's done speaking, and we kind of take all the questions at one time.
Okay, cool. All right, that's primarily my concern.
All right, very good. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Have another speaker?
Diane Lund.
Evening, Ms. Lund. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good, thanks. You?
Good. I have the same concern. I live on 42nd Street East, and I did call the Planning Commission today and talk to Shannon. She said she would be here. Yeah, hi, Shannon. And asked some questions. I asked if there's going to be a traffic study on that corner between 42nd Street West and K. We've been directly impacted by our walls being bashed in, not once, but twice. And there's been a lot of accidents on that corner, further down or whatever. I don't know, what the solution is. But this would directly, the only inlet into that subdivision is through that street. And that will add 67 more houses to that area, plus all of the other congestion. You can't really get out anymore. So, and I just wondered if they would do a traffic study and maybe an impact study on that. And also, when is this supposed to come about, the building itself? So those are my questions.
All right, very good.
But mainly it's safety for not only our safety of our subdivision, but of the other citizens that drive by. Okay?
Thank you for your comments. Another speaker?
Last one, it's Nico Lund.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much. If you hadn't detected, I'm the other half of the Lund family. Actually, I'm subservient to the leader. At any rate, I'm basically confirming what Ralph said and what Diane said. Living on the corner of 42nd Street and Avenue K, you've got to be semi-aware of everything that's happening. Number one, I don't know if you've noticed or had to check with the law enforcement recently. There's been numerous speeding tickets and accidents on Avenue K between 40th and 50th Street West. Coming down 42nd Street, either from the north, which tees into K, as a 35-mile-an-hour zone. That's normally registered somewhere between 45 and 50 on the traffic that goes by there. Your map shows you're going to introduce more traffic. You got 67 homes. Assuming the average family has one car per home, that's a minimum of 67 new cars. If it's two, which is probably more likely, that's 134 new cars entering that whole traffic pattern that is controlled by nothing by a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit and a stop sign. Therefore, I suggest you make some serious traffic analysis on what that might happen. And the reason I can say that is because, like I say, I'm an example of what you will go through by living on the corner of K and 42nd Street. In the last 3 years, there's been 3 accidents against my black brick wall. 2 on the corner, one of which a car ended up not only through the brick wall, but almost into the brick wall behind that, into my yard. I attribute that to 2 things. That was a lack of attention to speed, a lack of attention to traffic, and, shall we say, some poor drivers. Sorry to say, you can control 2 of those. You can't control the drivers. If you've been around Lancaster for a while, which I assume most of you have been, that's a 30-second call, I can see it, you realize you have no control over them. That is it. I suggest you make a strong traffic assessment before you decide to adopt this plan. Glenn.
Thank you for your comments. So, your responses, and I'm looking around here to see, there she is, okay. Your comments first, please.
So related to some of the traffic comments, I would defer to our traffic engineer, Matt Simmons, but there were a couple comments I can address first. The first one was what's happening at the vacant lot at the northwest corner of 40th and K. It says not a part on the map on the screen. That's a commercial lot. So that's that's a separate lot completely, and there's nothing proposed on it right now, but it is commercially zoned. And then the question of when this would be built. Currently, we're just looking to approve the subdivision itself. There's been no submittal for the actual homes, which we'll get those at some point, but currently I'm not aware of a timeline. I don't know if the applicant has a timeline, but right now it's just for the map. And I think the rest of the questions were related to traffic. Matt?
Good evening, Commissioner Vose, Chairman Vose and Commissioners. Regarding the traffic studies for this particular project, unfortunately, with the City of Lancaster conducts two separate types of analyses for projects along these lines. The first one is a vehicle miles traveled analysis, which is more of a regional approach where it's to determine what impacts will be made to the roadways in the area and what kind of mitigations or improvements the project would have to make to improve traffic conditions from a more environmental standpoint. That's what the planners use to clear it in the CEQA requirements. The city itself may ask a project to conduct what's considered a local transportation assessment, which is more of the basic traffic study where we may ask a project to do an analysis to determine if there's any specific mitigations that are needed as far as, say, a specific or an exclusive right turn lane, a left turn lane, something along those lines, even possibly a traffic study, or I'm sorry, a traffic signal. Unfortunately, there are certain thresholds at which a project has to meet to necessitate one of those studies, and unfortunately, this project's just not large enough. It doesn't meet the necessary requirements on a trip generation aspect. There are industry standards or industry resources that we use to calculate the number of trips that a specific project type and size will generate. And when that was conducted, this project just didn't meet the requirements of the city's requirements to do a local transportation assessment at this point. Built or is in the process of being built. If there are any increase in issues or, unfortunately any type of occurrences in the area, we can then come back and reevaluate that particular development and see if there is something that needs to be done. But unfortunately, again, it doesn't meet the city's criteria for those particular studies. It's just not large enough. It doesn't have enough units to actually generate enough traffic.
All right, thank you. Anything further from members? None? Staff? None?
No.
If the applicant wishes to add anything, you're welcome to, Ms. Pinero. Evening, welcome.
Good evening, Chairman Vose, Vice Chairman Derryberry, and Commissioners. Thank you so much for hearing our project this evening. My name is Chris Panera. I'm the project manager with Rodeo Credit Enterprises. And again, we're here to answer any questions you might have. This project, we are in negotiations with the builder. We don't have a builder on board, like Shannon was indicating. So once the project's approved, I think we'll be in a better place to evaluate kind of the next step. Also, the commercial area is not a part of this project. It'll come through separately with a commercial developer, which probably Mr. Jeff over here will handle for us. So thank you very much this evening and appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. All right, that concludes our public hearing. No other speakers, right? All right, without objection, then we'll close the public hearing, consider a motion.
I'll put forward the motion to adopt resolution number 2409, improving tentative tract map number 23-001, tentative tract map for the subdivision, approximately 18.5 gross acres into 68 lots, which is 67 single-family resident lots and 1 common area lot in the R7000 zones located at the northwest corner of Avenue K and 40th Street West, APNs 3153-025-043 and -019, adopting the initial study, mitigated negative declaration, SCH number 2024-020265, approving the mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program, and authorizing staff to execute the file the notice of determination.
A second.
Thank you. Anything further from members? All right, then, please vote. Motion passes 6-0 with 1 absent. Good luck with your project. This brings us to our last public hearing, and this is on conditional use permit 23-019. Vice Chair Derryberry has an announcement.
Chairman Vos, I just wanted to bring to the commission's attention that I'm going to recuse myself on this matter. I've been through the advice of counsel. One of the underlying landlords on this proposed project is a client of my office. I have familiarity with this project, and I have done work on it within the last 12 months. So I'm going to recuse myself and leave the meeting tonight.
Get an early night off.
I do. Good luck.
Good, thank you. All right, then, Vice Chair Derryberry has left the dais, and we still have a quorum with 5 members, correct? All right. So, without objection, conditional use permit number 23-019 is open. Ms. Swain is the staff member who will be presenting on this. We've had a considerable amount of input from quite a number of sources, including Antelope Valley Air Quality Management District, Caltrans, State Water Resource Board, California Department of Wildlife, and individuals who live in the area, Mr. Coker, Mr. and Mrs. Gowdy, Mr. Casper, Mr. Markin, and I mentioned California Department of Fish and Wildlife. We also had some correspondence from LA County, and I wrote it down, I can't find it. But you'll remind me, Ms. Swain. All right? I think that's about it. Plus, we've received a number of modifications to the conditions of approval and the mitigation monitoring program, which I'm sure you'll share with us. So please proceed.
Good evening, Chairman Vos and members of the Planning Commission. Before you tonight is conditional use permit number 23-019 for the construction and operation of the Lancaster Clean Energy Center. The proposed project consists of approximately 1,338 acres, generally bound by Avenue J, Avenue L, 40th Street East, and 70th Street East. The subject property can be broken down into two distinct areas, identified as Site 1 and Site 2 on the aerial. The area shown in green is the Little Rock Wash plus the proposed buffer area. Site 1 is approximately 442 acres located at the southeast corner of Avenue K and 40th Street East. This property is currently owned by the Calandri Caruso Farms and encompasses all of the property located in the city except for the portion of the except for the portion developed with structures supporting agricultural uses. Site 2 is approximately 896 acres bound by 50th Street East, 70th Street East, Avenue J, and Avenue K. This property is currently owned by Bolthouse Farms. Little Rock Wash runs through the center of this site, although the development would not occur within the wash or within a 100-foot buffer on either side of the wash. The proposed project consists of the construction and operation of an off-grid renewable energy facility comprised of the following: a total of 650 megawatts of ground-mounted PV solar arrays. These arrays would constitute a majority of the project site and will provide all power to the project. 330 megawatt hours of long-duration battery energy storage. These batteries will provide power to the facility during times of low solar output. Green hydrogen production plant incorporating 400 megawatt E of hydrogen production and liquefied and gaseous hydrogen storage. 2 cylindrical tanks and 3 spherical liquefied hydrogen storage tanks. Facilities for filling hydrogen transport trailers and zero-emission vehicles and trucks. Control and office buildings and warehouse and service buildings, and cooling towers. An on-site DC generation tie line would run along Avenue K and connect the solar arrays with the hydrogen production facility. Perimeter landscaping would be located along the public right-of-ways as shown in green on the site plan. The hydrogen production portion of the project site would constitute a very small portion of the site as shown in blue. The hydrogen production facility would be located along 70th Street East, just north of Avenue K. 2 driveways would access the project site from 70th Street East and create a circular loop through the facility. Employee parking would be provided on site. The facility is estimated to utilize approximately 300 acre-feet of water per year, which would be obtained from an existing well on the southeastern portion of the project site. This well is currently in operation, and the developer has leased a portion of the water rights for a total of 400 acre-feet per year. And these next 2 slides show what the overall site's going to look like as elevation. So this is from one angle, that is from another angle. A total of 102 trips per day are estimated to occur with the operation of the project at full build-out. This is equivalent to the number of trips generated by 11 single-family residences. Of the 102 trips, 70 trips would be from trucks associated with the hydrogen production facility, and 32 trips are anticipated from employees. Employees would commute to the site based on the route of their choosing, determined on their place of residence, and trucks accessing and leaving the site would do so as shown in this figure. This route was chosen to avoid as many residential areas as possible. The initial study was circulated for a 30-day public review and comment period beginning on February 7th and ending on March 8th. A total of 9 comment letters were received from state and local agencies, non-governmental organizations, and property owners and residents. Copies of these letters were sent to the commissioners at the close of the comment period. The comments received on the initial study can be grouped into 5 general categories: air quality, biological resources, hazards, traffic, and water. Additional conditions of approval have been included to address the need for a public water system permit from the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, surveys for Swainson's hawk, legless lizard, and other special status species, and the use of rodenticide and anticoagulants. Additionally, the burrowing owl mitigation measure was slightly modified to address the wording preferences from CDFW. All other issues were specifically addressed in the initial study. However, I can provide specific responses to any questions the commissioners may have on any of the comment letters. Staff is recommending to the Planning Commission adoption of resolution number 24-08, approving conditional use permit number 23-19 with the revised conditions for the construction and operation of the Lancaster Clean Energy Center. I am available to answer any questions regarding the proposed project. Additionally, the applicant team is present and available to answer questions related to project-specific details involving hydrogen production.
Thank you, Ms. Swain. We do have speakers on this item. All right. Approximately how many?
I think we have about 10.
Oh, good. Members, do you have any questions of staff? I'm going to ask the applicant to come up first and answer some of our questions and share with us the concept for a failed science student. And I would ask you to please keep in layman's terms, because I've failed science miserably. If it's math, I got it down. Science, I do not.
Chairman Vos, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I promise I will keep it in layman's terms. My name is Stephen Maheen. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Element Resources. I'm here to answer any questions I can, and I'm available to your questions.
First question, you've seen the modifications to the condition list?
Yes, I have. We agree to those unconditionally.
All of them?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. You know, we don't select sites, applicants do. And this particular application is within the East Side overlay. I know that our staff has met with homeowners throughout that area, particularly west of 40th Street on a couple of occasions. I don't know if you've been involved with any of those meetings, but appreciate the openness, at least, of our staff and the community's concerns that have been raised. I believe that some of those concerns urged modifications to the site plan.
Yes, sir. We relocated the hydrogen facility entirely from the Calandry property to the Bolt House property to the furthest extent bordering 70th. And that was to create a larger zone around the property, the manufacturing plant, from many people.
The project site plan calls for phasing of the hydrogen facility. I didn't see any phasing plan for the solar arrays, but that may well happen as well. I just don't know. I don't see it in the staff report. But your site plan indicated there's a phasing of the construction and development of the hydrogen production facility. The second phase calls for the improvements of what I call the fueling rack. It's not a rack in hydrogen terms, it is in fuels such as gasoline and diesel fuel. But it's in the second phase. The staff report talks about the ability to transport finished product. So how are you going to do that if you don't build it altogether.
I think there may be some confusion in how it's worded. The hydrogen plant consists of two separate plants side by side that are identical, each at 200 megawatts. Those will be built one after the other. Phasing or sequencing is the terminology used.
Okay, so it's not, there's not a gap in, months, years gap between first
No.
and second phase?
No, there isn't. And likewise with the solar. With that amount of solar, they will be addressed in sections of property being built out at different times. It's, 1,000 acres of solar is quite a lot.
We look at a lot of site plans, and I've never seen a blast wall before on any project in the last 16 years. Can you tell us what that's for?
It's a requirement in the federal safety codes that anytime you have a combustible gas, you have to have a containment structure around it. So hydrogen being an extremely light gas, it tends to dissipate very quickly and outside of the flammable zone, and it dissipates upwards. Irregardless of that, the federal government requires a containment around it.
It's an odorless product, right?
Correct.
So the loading portion of the transportation element is hundreds of feet from roadways and other constructed facilities on site. Is it operated remotely?
No, it's operated by people. You have to physically put the hose into the tank to fill it. Then they step back at a safe distance while the filling operation takes place automatically.
Right. Noticed in one of the reports, it talks about Class 8 over-the-road tractors, trucks.
Semi-truck, yes.
Yeah. Tell us what a Class 8 is.
Class 8 is an 18-wheel semi-truck. Typically you would refer to that as a Peterbilt or a Kenworth. We will use Class 8 trucks that operate on hydrogen, so they're still zero emissions and carbon-free.
I see. Thank you. All right, then. Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Other speakers may have something to say that you can answer that we can't, or staff may not be able to. So we may ask you to come back after our friends and neighbors have an opportunity to share with us.
Certainly. Thank you, Chairman Vos.
Thank you. May we have the first speaker, please?
Sure. Teresa Maupin.
Evening. Ms. Hawkins, is it?
Moppin. Mrs. Moppin. Mopping the floor, which is what I used to tell my students.
Good. And use your outside voice. It's okay with me because
Okay, no problem.
I don't hear
use that
well,
with my husband
even
as well.
even with. Go ahead.
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, I appreciate this opportunity to address you. In looking at the overlay map that was sent, I live in the little mutual water company of Tierra Bonita Mutual Water Company, and we are 32 parcels of 2.5 acres, about 24 homes. And my husband and I built our dream home in 1978 and stayed put. So we've been there this whole time and love that area of the Antelope Valley. It's quiet, it's beautiful. It's the only area that has not changed in the Antelope Valley in literally 40 years. People would go, where do you live? K6 and 52nd, where's that? On the east side? But yes, that's where we live. And I think my concern with this, and I know the 73-page negative declaration addressed a lot of my concerns that I've had, traffic, noise, pollution, odor, hazards, and so forth. And I guess at this point, I'm wondering if there are problems that develop in the future, how are those addressed?
The simple answer is they have a conditional, if approved, they have a conditional permit that requires them to comply with the conditions, and if they fail to do that, then it's an administrative oversight by our planning staff, who then would interact with and attempt to cure, and if that doesn't work, then they're back up before us on a hearing that has the potential of revocation. So it's serious business.
It's serious. Good. I'm glad to hear that. And so when I look at the map, I just want to make sure you're aware, it looks like no one lives there, but we do. And so our little community is important to us, and we hope it's not going to be negatively impacted. So thank you.
Well, I know you all live there. I know where Terra Bonita is.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you for your comments.
Alton Wilkerson.
Evening, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Alton Wilkerson. So I'm an electrician with IBW Local 11. I live just near there off of 50th and J. These type of projects have really helped people like myself build careers for ourselves, right? So I started 15 years ago on a small project down in LA when I used to live down there at Southwest College. It was one of the solar carports things like you see over here at AVC. And some people look at these projects and say, oh, they're only going to be here for a certain amount of time. They're only building jobs for a certain amount of time. But these type of projects are the types of projects that start careers for people. I've seen it happen for myself. I've seen it happen for a lot of people in these communities that have worked on these types of projects. And I am definitely in favor of this because this puts people like myself and other individuals in this community to work, even when it comes to the maintenance of these types of projects. So just definitely in favor of this, and hopefully you guys will consider this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
David Marin.
Evening, welcome.
Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity. What I mainly want to talk about is what I did not see in the initial study was what the impact to the roadways. The initial study was an excellent read, right? It talked about everything, but what I didn't see was anything talking about where or how roads are going to be improved for that area. So I am a neighbor of Miss Maupin, live in that small community there. And I just want to know how it's going to impact the roadways, right? Because once operational, it's going to be 70 trucks going there per day. Now, on February 29th, I took 4 hours, sat outside my property with an ice chest and a cigar, and I counted trucks that came by for 4 hours, right? I had 61 trucks, semi-trucks, not regular trucks, tractor trailers that came by there. So if you multiply that, you know what? It's about 126 per day. Now, there might be more or less given that, but if we look at 70 more tractor trailers that are going to be coming down there, which I think the, a hydrogen tube trailer with 15,000 gallons, the gross weight with the tractor trailer is about 79,000 pounds. So multiply that by 70 trips per day, you're talking about 5.5 million extra pounds on those roadways every single day. Okay, coming back and forth from Avenue M all the way up to 50th East, right? Making that north and going to Avenue K. That's a big impact on that roadway. That roadway's already fallen apart. Lived there for 20 years now. The intersection of 50th and K is constantly being filled with potholes and all kinds of other stuff like that. It's a 2-lane road. But more importantly, the safety of those little residents there. It's a 2-lane road. There's no shoulders to turn off on any of those streets there. So for the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit that's coming down there, you have to slow down tremendously to be able to make that turn. So it impacts both oncoming traffic and follow-on traffic. So I would just ask if, I don't know if it's a traffic assessment or anything that can be done to look at the roads and what can be done to improve the roads, whether it's, a regular resurfacing, turn lanes being put in, or anything like that. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, our staff will address your comments. There's actually 2 elements. One is the construction element relative to impacts on roadways, and the other is future. And then there's also jurisdictional issues between the county and the city. So they'll respond to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Elaine McDonald.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Elaine McDonald, and I'm president of the 40th Street East Water Group. I represent 13 homes on the east side of Lancaster. Our water well, and our homes are located between 30th and 40th Street East and Avenue K12. And we pay the water master for our water rights to pump water. At the present time, we pump about 10 acres of water a year for the 13 homes. And I just have a few questions that I would like to ask you. How will our groundwater be affected by this project? How many acre feet will this project use? How many acre feet of water is expected to be used a year? Where will the projected water for the project come from? The ground aquifer or recycled water? Do you have those answers, please?
Yeah, staff will address those comments. It was all in the staff report, but we'll be happy to re-answer it for you.
Thank you. I would like a clarification.
Okay. Do you have any other comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I agree with the nice lady from Terra Bonita. Her comments, she was up here a little while ago, so I agree with her too.
All right.
And I wanted to thank you for letting me speak this evening. But yes, we do have those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Sullivan.
Evening, welcome.
Oh, good evening, Commissioner, Chairman, staff. My name's Joe Sullivan. I work with the National Electrical Contractors Association of Greater Los Angeles and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 11. This represents approximately 350 electrical contractors in LA County. And I am here to speak in strong support of item number 3, approving the conditional use permit for this project. I want to start out by saying our contractors build these projects regularly. They build them safely. The technology is in place, like leak detection systems, the codes and standards are safe. We have somebody that sits on every national code panel in the nation. So these are safe projects, and we're doing them right now, and we regularly use quote hazardous gases like ammonia, hydrogen for things like fertilizer, refineries, et cetera. Not only is this project imperative for the state to meet its climate goals, it cannot be done without hydrogen, we know this. There has to be a fuel source. Hydrogen allows us to decarbonize without putting increasingly congested grid. It allows us to do this without electrons, to do it with another source, and it's a 24/7 source of power. But moreover, with the strong workforce language that is in this project, it's going to create many, many high-road careers, like you just heard Alton talk about, that lift up the local community. These careers pay family-sustaining wages and benefits. It includes no-cost apprenticeship program training with job placement. There are long-term careers with career advancement opportunities and an excellent retirement. So this is really a win-win-win. And we're prepared to do this work right now. We're prepared to do it safely. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Don Casper.
Evening and welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Mr. Casper, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, my home is right there at the northeast corner of 40th or northwest corner, excuse me, of 40th and K, right there, right where that bullet sign is. So my concern is if you is basically groundwater pumping. If as the farmers are pumping water, they're also spreading water, so there's no subsidence that I can see on our property. My concern is if you start water mining, where it's one way being mined out, such as Bolt House here selling their water rights to that well at K and 40th, which is a super borehole, large well operation, it'll cause subsidence in the properties of Tierra del Sol, such as me, right across 100 yards away or so. In addition, all the land from 40th eastward is Pleistocene lake bottom. Doctors at Kaiser document it as an endemic valley fever zone. The farmers have complained to me that it's high sodicity in the soil, so water application for mitigation is very difficult because the water repels unless you forcibly flood it for a long period of time. So solar doesn't seem to me to be that benign as people would claim. You have to constantly scrape the soil to get rid of nuisance weeds for the solar arrays. There's arrays coming right up to the corner of 40th Street across from where I live. And my concern is, historically, why they seem to alternate between onions and carrots is there's a lot of fungal problems that grow with the onions. This is why they alternate the carrots. They don't have a choice. Otherwise, it'll kill the crop. So we have 20 years of onion farming across the street as well, so we have endemic fungus in the soil. So I just don't want to be the experiment for all the respiratory hazards from that. I would hope that the solar array 40th is backed off further, and that as part of the mitigation, the well at these two wells, one up at J8 and the one on 40th and K, aren't used as adjudication or compensation for their well operations. So if they need another 400 acre feet, they start using these wells, it'll cause subsidence on 40th is my concern, because it's constrained by the Little Rock Creek, which is also most likely constrained by a fault system. So it'll be directed subsidence instead of regional. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Daniel Osborne.
Mr. Osborne, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. This is Danny Osborne. I'm a business agent for Iron Workers Local 433 and a building trades delegate. And we support this project. We are in the business of building things, right? And we pride ourselves on building things that matter, right? Things that the city needs, things that the state needs, and in the case of clean energy, things that literally the world needs, right? We would consider it an honor and a privilege to partner with Element, assist them in their efforts to build responsibly, as has been mentioned, address climate change, provide clean energy, and most importantly, provide mortgage-paying career opportunities for your local residents. So we humbly request you to approve this project so we can be part of that effort. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Melissa Gotti.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
You want to pull the microphone down a little closer to you and talk to us like you were talking to somebody outside.
Okay. My name is Melissa Gotti. I live in the area known as Terra Bonita Mutual Water Company. We run from East Avenue K4 to East Avenue K8, from 50th Street East to 55th Street East. We are on that map there, and I feel like that the mitigation, or whatever the study was, completely dismissed us. On page, the one area, it said it just involved a few homes. Well, we're more than a few homes, and we're a community, and we've been there for a long time. It also said, and even Ms. Swain had mentioned, that the route that the trucks are going to take is not affecting a residential area. Well, we are a residential area. We have 3 exits that go onto 50th Street East, one at K4, one at K6, and one at K8. And then we also have a private drive that comes. Their house faces 50th Street East, so their private drive goes out on 50th Street East. Sometimes it's difficult to go in and out because of the traffic that's on 50th Street East. So I would recommend, and also too, your truck route was going to go from the freeway up M, down 50th to K, and then out to 70th Street East. So it's going to go right in front of us. We do get a lot of traffic. My neighbor, Mr. Marin, said he counted all the trucks that went by, and we're going to add 70 more trucks. You said in your study that we didn't need to have a study done because that was underneath the 110 vehicle miles traveled. But I'm assuming that's considering it to be car miles, not truck miles. And heavy truck miles is going to add a lot more, hard on the street as it is. I have a picture on my phone of what the intersection of 50th Street East and K looks like right now, and all it is potholes where they patch two big pieces of it. It's a little bit dangerous sometimes to make a left into our property because, again, you're up to 55 miles an hour already, and then you're always looking behind you. I sure hope that car sees that I'm stopping because I'm going to be turning left. Also, when you're turning right, too, there's no area that you can move over to turn right, so you're watching the traffic that's behind you. It has a no passing lane in there, which usually is not always followed, so you have to make sure that you're really clear on both directions before you pull out, because somebody may be trying to pass in that no passing area. I would feel much more comfortable with all this additional truck traffic that's going by if we were to have both left and right turn lanes to get in and out of our neighborhood. And I would appreciate that. I didn't like that I felt like we were dismissed. We live there, and there's a bunch of homes that are there, and that is in my opinion, a significant residential area that should be taken into account.
We will have staff respond to your concerns. We also got your letter, I believe.
Yes, I did. I sent a letter too.
All right, very good. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Mitch Klein.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You were here 2 weeks ago.
You remember me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Bose and Commissioners. My name is Mitch Klein. I'm a business representative for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, also represent the building trades. And again, following my co-workers, what these jobs bring to us is not only putting the community to work, but taking these at-risk kids, these gangsters that are out there committing crimes, and giving them careers, taking our veterans that are coming back that don't have jobs and bringing them in these apprenticeship programs for all the trades and giving them careers, taking them off the street so they can live the American dream. This is all part of it. And as these jobs come forward and it enables us to bring more and more people in, it's a win-win for everybody. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Last speaker card.
Yes.
Peter Gordon Connor.
Evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. I live on the corner of 50th and K8. My house faces west, and I look across these beautiful fields. I've lived there for a number of years. I'm a neighbor to the Maupins and in that community. My concern, first of all, I like the rural of where I'm at. I don't want to see it change. Like Ms. Maupin, she said, it hasn't changed. So I'm concerned about that. Secondly, I really don't want to look out my front door, my front window, and see solar arrays. That's the last thing that I want to see in the evening when the sun's going down and the beautiful sunset, and I have nothing but acres and acres of solar arrays. That's the last thing I want to see. So one of the questions I do have, if this does go forward, is what kind of visual blocking can I have that I don't have to see these things, whether it's privacy fencing, I know there was a mention of landscaping, and then also with the traffic, I would ditto Mr. Marin and Mrs. Gotti with the traffic concern. So my driveway actually goes out on the 50th. I have 4 kids of driving age. We're constantly making left and right turns out there on the 50th. I've had my friend's son get in a really bad car accident because my wife's been rear-ended right in front of our house because people don't slow down. I had like I said, one of my son's friends was in a bad car accident trying to get in. He was coming to pick him up, and they were going to go somewhere, and some idiot decided to pass in a no passing lane when he was turning, clipped him. It was a bad wreck. So I have concerns with traffic, and again, we're adding 70 more trucks. That's a very busy road. And again, there's no shoulders. And so those are my primary concerns, is I don't want to see solar arrays. I wish we could, further north, I don't really have a problem with the project itself. I'd love to see the solar for that section put somewhere else. And then traffic is a big concern. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any more speakers?
That's it.
No? All right, then. Ms. Swain, we'll start with you, and then let our engineers pick up after.
Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of go down in order of how I made my notes. Truck trips on 50th. I think there's a bit of a misconception. When we're talking about truck trips, we're talking about a trip from point A to point B, and there will be 70 of them. So there's not going to be 70 trucks driving up 50th. There's going to be 35. Additionally, the agricultural uses that are currently there and generating truck trips are going to go away. And so there may be a reduction. I don't know how many truck trips, I don't know how many occur daily associated with the agricultural production. I don't know if it only occurs at certain times of the year, but there is going to be a reduction from the current agricultural uses going away and those trips no longer occurring. I will leave improvements of roadway intersections to my colleagues. On to water. So water for the proposed project is coming from a water lease that the applicant has from Bolthouse Farms. The well that they're going to be pumping from is located at roughly 70th Street West and Avenue K. The wells that are closer to 40th are not being utilized. The applicant has a groundwater lease of 40 acre-feet per year from Bolthouse Farms, and they are anticipating to use only slightly over 300 acre-feet of water per year. 300 acre-feet would be for the actual hydrogen production electrolysis process, and 5.25 would be for maintenance, landscaping, sanitation needs, those other kinds of purposes, for a total of just over 300 acre-feet. This is a substantial reduction in the amount of water that is utilized to irrigate the crops across the 1,300 acres. While Bolthouse Farms has the right to pump up to the amount of water that was given them in the adjudication, I don't know what their plans are for the difference. They are entitled to that water use. That was granted by the settlement for the adjudication for the groundwater system.
As well as the project number one, which is
so
the 442 acres. They have wells there that they have adjudicated right to, and they have a right to do with as they choose within that adjudication, right?
Correct. So the Antelope Valley Groundwater Basin adjudication process established the amount of water that property owners can pump from individual wells, and there's a process that they went through for that. The applicant is utilizing 300, slightly over 300 acre-feet or up to 400 acre-feet from a specific well that is within Bolthouse Properties pumping rights as granted under that adjudication. There is no pumping right lease associated with any wells that the Calandry property has. So that is not the intention to pump from those locations. An issue was raised with respect to valley fever. There is a mitigation measure in the initial study and in the conditions of approval with respect to valley fever. This mitigation measure was developed in conjunction with LA County Public Health in 2014 and is applicable to all development projects in the city. It talks about things to protect the workers on site, along with things for the residents in the surrounding area, with the ability to require the notices to go out to residents within 3 miles. Typically, we follow the same noticing that gets used for the public hearing. So in this case would be 1,500 feet, but may or may not notice additional residents located near where construction was occurring. One of the commenters mentioned that they had concerns about what happens if they don't follow their conditions or they notice problems. Per the Air District requirements, the site is required to have signage. So if you notice dust control or other Air District problems, it will give you a contact number to have the inspectors from the Air District out to correct the problem. They are also required to have signage on the site for an on-site supervisor and others, for people to report potentially hazardous conditions or issues that they see. That is required of signage around all of the property. Traffic. With respect to VMT, the standard for screening is not miles, and it's not dependent on the type of trip, but the VMT screening threshold is 110 trips per day or fewer to screen out. That's an environmental standard only, as the traffic engineer previously discussed on the previous item. This project does screen out from a VMT analysis. I think, as I mentioned previously, this project would generate somewhere between the same number of trips associated with 10 to 11 single-family residences. And I think those were all the only issues that were raised. If somebody mentioned something else, please let me know.
The two elements of road conditions, the first element, it's the name of the company, I should use a different term. The first issue is the construction phase and the impact to roads. And then the second is the operational phase and the impact to roads, and how developers are required to deal with the first phase, and how the city deals, and or county, because we have multi-jurisdictions out there, how they deal with it. So you can answer the first one.
So on the construction one, there is a mitigation measure that requires a traffic control plan associated with construction to ensure the safe operation of all construction vehicles on the roadway, and to reduce impacts and keep the flow of traffic going. So that, with respect to construction, should help the flow. Access to the project site is going to be predominantly from Avenue K. So those are going to be the driveways. Other driveways to solar facilities may be required based on fire department standards, but they will not be routinely used.
The impact of construction vehicles, isn't it, as one of our standard conditions that at the end of the construction phase, then the roadways are evaluated, and any repairs or improvements that are necessary caused by the construction element phase, not element, the construction phase, then has to be addressed by the applicant, right?
If it is specific damage caused by their operations, routine wear on a roadway wouldn't be considered construction damage. Typically, it's recommended to applicants to take pictures of the roadways surrounding where they're working, just so they have proof of the existing conditions.
On a project of this size, typically, Public Works evaluates the conditions of the roadways and the traffic against the traffic plan, the approved traffic plan, and makes a determination of condition, so then they can go back out at the end and make another determination of condition, right?
That would be a traffic engineering question.
Matt's nodding his head back there, right?
As far as the specific construction of the roadways, I will defer to the city engineer, Nick Godin. He's got more experience in that area. I did just want to put a little bit finer point on a number of trips for the project would be generating. Jocelyn was correct in the fact that I just wanted to give it a little bit more definition. The way the trips are calculated and what a trip actually constitute is a point from its origin to its destination. So what that would be is that would be the trucks coming from wherever they originate in the the LA basin or wherever they may originate, driving to the project site. That would be their origin. They would, wherever they start from, they would drive to the project site. That would be its destination. That's one trip. Then the second trip would be leaving from this particular site and then going to wherever they are delivering the gas. So instead of 70 trucks going by, it's only 35 trucks. So it's not quite as many as, the wording on the report is a little bit misleading. And again, what Jocelyn brought up is that the change of the use on the land would also reduce the number of trips that are already occurring because of the agricultural uses being removed. Any vehicle trips, truck trips, whatnot, that are associated with those would then be removed from the driving conditions, just as a matter of course. So I just wanted to give that a little bit of finer point. And then as far as the installation of exclusive right turn lanes or exclusive left turn lanes into and out of your community, unfortunately there are certain minimum standards that are required to be met for those installations, just because it is kind of a safety issue. If left turns and right turns were placed at every single intersection, it becomes confusing for drivers, and it's not a typical situation in some of these particular locations on a more rural situation. So, unfortunately they do help, but there are certain standards that have to be met for the installation of those, and unfortunately the community is just not large enough. And with that, I will pass it over to Nick.
Evening. I'll try to, address a few of the concerns as well as your question as well. So I guess to provide some background up front, the city does evaluate PCI, Pavement Condition Index, for streets on an annual basis. I would say that it would be atypical to do it on a project basis. It would just be picked up at the annual time. So we did a little bit of research, and the PCI currently for these streets ranges from 32 to 56, which on a, descriptive category would be very poor to fair condition. I think the pictures that were provided show that it is cracked a little bit. As far as treatment that we have done to the roads, the last time that they were treated was in 2014, and it was a chip seal preventative maintenance treatment. So those roads have not been treated in 10 years. There is a split jurisdiction issue that you touched on as well. And I did check our 5-year maintenance plan moving forward, and the 50th Street East is not included currently on the 5-year maintenance plan. Having said that, we do, like I said, evaluate the streets on an annual basis, and if there is an increased rate of deterioration, it would be captured with the annual evaluation each year, and changes to the 5-year plan are made on an annual basis based on that evaluation.
So Nick, if in your travels since you just got married to the sister, or to the city, not the sister, to the city recently, maybe there'll be an opportunity to evaluate those roadways quicker. They may not rise to the level of improvements necessary. However, I would suggest that maybe if we have an opportunity to take a look at them a little closer, we'd be appreciated by the community, certainly. And some of those road right-of-ways are within split jurisdictions, right? So you have the city on one side of the road and the county on the other.
Correct. Correct.
So how do you interact with, well, maybe I know the answer to the question. How do you interact with the county?
So we do have regular meetings with the road department of the county to coordinate projects that we're participating in with them, that they're leading or that we're leading and we'd like them to participate on.
Good, very good, thank you. See, I think we've got it all from all the comments. Go ahead.
One of the residents was talking about the scenery from his yard. I just want that to be addressed so that he can get his.
So the fencing and landscaping would be surrounding the entire project on the public rights of way.
road, yeah, on the public rights of way. And typically what that looks like is it's going to be a 10-foot wide landscaped area from the edge of roadway, beginning of the property line. So you're gonna have 10 feet. Then you're gonna have the fence. The fire department is going to require interior circulation roads within the solar fields, simply so that they can get in there if they need to. So that typically goes around the outside. So that's gonna be another 20 feet. So you're looking at 35 to 40 feet between the edge of the property line to where the actual solar panels are gonna start. In this case, what has been proposed is more of a wrought iron, tubular steel is probably the better description for it, fencing, and then you'll have the landscaping on the outside. That landscaping would be native and/or drought tolerant, and the intent is for it to grow up to be roughly the height of the fence to provide some screening. You're not gonna make the view of the solar panels go completely away, but to soften the look and make it a little more attractive.
So the solar arrays are what, south facing?
Correct.
So and they typically follow whatever method they decide to use for their solar arrays, but they're all south facing, so everything west of 50th is south facing and everything north of K is south facing.
I believe so.
I think I read that somewhere in those
And
300 pages.
And I think it even looks that way from the area. Yeah, they would all be south-facing, and it depends on the type of technology, whether they're fixed single-access or dual-access tracking.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, then, the applicant has an opportunity to speak if you choose. Not obliged to. All right, then, thank you. So without objection, we'll close the public hearing and consider a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 24.08, approving the conditional use permit number 23-19 to allow the construction and operation of the Lancaster Clean Energy Center on 1,338 acres in the rural area 2.5 and rural area 2.5. With the east side overlay zone generally bound by 40th Street East, 70th Street East, Avenue J, and Avenue I. Let's see where we're at. Adopting the initial study mitigation negative declaration, approving the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and authority staff to execute the file of notice of determination.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All right, then, moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from anyone? None? All right, then, please vote. Motion passes 5-0 with one recusal and one absent. So the project is approved. Congratulations, and Be a good neighbor. Good luck. All right, then, this brings us to the end of the action items. The next item on our agenda is comments from our Assistant Director, Ms. Garberry.
Just a few comments. I also wanted to congratulate and welcome Commissioner Loa to the team. We're very excited to work with you. And also Vice Chair Derryberry just recognizing his new position. It's very exciting. I also wanted to mention Form 700. Sandra sent out an email last week, or you should have received an email reminding you to fill that out. We do have a deadline of April 2nd for that, so just a reminder to fill it out if you haven't already. And then lastly, for our April meeting, we've actually, we're going to go ahead and cancel the April meeting, and we'll reconvene in May. We didn't have any items for April, and so May, we should have a significant amount of items to consider. And that'll be on May 20th.
So you're suggesting no April meeting?
Correct. I'm suggesting it. Sorry.
Well, fine with me. However, we have to, and by statute, we have to hold regular meetings. So we have to adjourn to April 15th, and then we'll cancel that meeting by public notice and then schedule it for whatever date you just said.
Perfect. This was more of just an update, but we'll absolutely follow all the protocol things that we need to follow to make sure we cancel the meeting.
But if something changes, I mean, some hot issue comes up,
we'll move forward with the April date.
We should keep April 15th on the calendar, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
We'll keep
very
it for
good.
now, and if something changes, we'll let you know.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you. That's it, Ms. Garibay?
That's it.
Ms. De La Cruz, you want to chat with us with anything?
I always love to chat with all of you.
How are you?
I am fabulous.
Great.
I also wanted to welcome Commissioner Loa and to congratulate Vice Chair Derryberry. I think they are going to be great in their new roles and capacities. Just to clarify, on the April meeting, we still have a whole slew of projects that are in the queue for May and even June, even July. The items that were tentatively slated for April are just not ready, but it does not mean that we are slowing down by any means. Just wanted to add that clarity. And that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right, then. Anything further from the members? No? I just want to thank staff and tonight for your effort in slogging through this agenda, and particularly this last item. And it's very complicated, very technical, and we appreciate your work, that's for sure. I'm sure the applicant does as well. But as a commission, we certainly appreciate what you all do every day. Quite often not acknowledged, I suppose. Anyway, so we stand adjourned to our regular meeting of April 15th, 2024 here in these chambers at 5 p.m. Thank you.